I don't like men or caves.
Huh. You don't like caves?
All right, you're right. I like caves.
We
Just
got
not
we
when
got a
they're
cave. We got a
not when they're
cave in one
possessed
of the
by a man.
chapters.
Yeah. Anyways, hello.
That's a well loved book right there.
Oh yeah. I have never had to get a replacement copy of this book.
Mine already has pages coming out. But
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
I don't care.
mine is not in very good shape.
That's pretty solid.
We're even. It's fine. Oh,
Oh
Right.
no. I see it.
you gotta go that ultra sturdy first edition hardback.
But then I can't bend the covers over when I read.
The fact that you do that makes me feel insane.
You
That's maybe the worst thing you've ever done.
think so?
Wow.
What about
I hate
when
that.
what about when a really big book has broken in half, so now it fits in my pocket? So I just walk around with half a book and no cover on the front?
It's viscerally upsetting to me.
Chaotic evil.
What about when I'm wearing something that has multiple pockets, so I have 3 of those on me? And I'm reading 2 of them while smoking on the street and it's raining on the naked paper?
I understand that you're not joking, but I wish you were.
Anyways, that part was fun.
Oh no, look, it literally just fell out.
Oh no!
Oh no.
Come on,
For a second
Tor
there, Jen,
Fantasy.
you sounded like R2-D2.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
computer's being weird today.
It seems like your internet connection's maybe not so hot.
I think what's happening probably is the computer is trying to pull up the dialogue where it's telling me I need to update my software.
Oh. I want to check on
And
my
then it's
computer.
like checking for updates.
Being
It makes my computer while that's doing that.
Are we streaming on the internet?
We are.
Oh, well, someone should be talking.
Okay. I gotta get into it. I'm so tired, y'all. Couldn't sleep last night.
Huh.
Ooh.
You gotta drink some coffee.
I am, but it only does so much.
I was falling asleep at like 9:30 last night, so I'm feeling fresh.
I went to sleep
good.
really early and I'm tired. And I slept well.
I have a disturbing amount of energy.
That's cool.
I dug a giant hole in my yard yesterday, and then wrote a play, and then binged a TV show after that. So I went to bed at like 4, and I got up at 9, and I feel great.
Wow.
And I really think it's because of this coffee cup.
Yeah,
Dougie's
it's
coffee.
Dougie's coffee.
Yeah.
I
Dougie's
didn't go
coffee
to
coming
sleep
through.
yet.
Way to go, Ryan. How many days?
Well, I guess technically I slept yesterday in the morning.
How are you feeling?
Quiet.
Well, shall we try to talk about the book?
Yeah. I think we're on chapter 10 and 11.
Yeah, I think I read chapter 9.
I finished it out at this point, so
The book?
the book.
Yeah.
One thing
I
we
mean,
definitely
everything.
didn't talk about
pretty-
was Incus's weird coven.
The Black Mechanics.
Wait, I think that's cutting kind of ahead. No, oh, never mind. No, that's in
No, it's like
7:10.
2 pages in. Wait. So who the fuck is Patera Tussa?
Oh, yeah.
A
And
black
is he the
mechanic.
same? And is he the same?
I'm pretty sure not.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like because he's alive right now, right?
Yeah. In the guide, it indicates that they're not the same people, I remember. And I don't understand the significance of why they have the same name, but there must be one, right?
I don't think there are other instances of people having the same name.
Yeah.
And names are important. So is he like... Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just like a weird thing.
Yeah.
Maybe the significance is to show that like names don't necessarily have to connect people, but they do. But they don't have to.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like as a general rule in the world, they don't have to.
But what part are you
But
talking?
maybe in the
Who are you talking about?
just at the top of 467. Oh, maybe you have a different.
Just like what? We're in chapter 10.
Yeah,
The beginning
and the paragraph
chapter 10,
starts.
like in the English section.
It starts. He shut the door slowly and almost
Okay.
noiselessly, and in the middle they mention Patera Tessa,
Yeah.
Okay.
and that's
Man,
the only mention.
totally.
The circle was to convene after dinner at Full Mars, and Bittersweet had promised to show everyone the wonders she claimed to have achieved with an old porter, who would, as she had reportedly confided to Patera Tassa, adore her as a kidness, skill and molpe, and so forth.
So they're hypnotizing chems.
Mm.
They're hacking
They're
droids.
hacking. They're hacking into the. They're hacking into the mainframe.
Just like
Literally.
Disney's doing to us.
But are they doing it for entertainment purposes or
They're
like
doing it
to
'cause they're
or
black
educate?
mechanics.
Oh,
Like-
I think this is educated. They see this feels to me like the Royal College, in Isaac Newton times, and how they would like get together and vivisect a dog, and like
Who's in the Royal
force air
College?
through its mouth to like figure out how barking worked and stuff like that, and just do these, and then like sit around afterwards and feel horrible about themselves.
Who's in the Royal College? That's after John Dee times, huh?
Yeah, it's the next century. It's like Robert Hooke and Robert Boyle and Christopher Wren, Sir Isaac Newton, and then other people would like present to them every once in a while. I think Sir Walter Raleigh is in that time, maybe a little bit earlier. I don't know. But yeah, post Elizabethan. Charles, I think. It's right after Christ. It's like around 1666, the Fire of London time. Because Christopher Wren gets to redesign London after the fire. Anyway, they're a cool bunch of dudes.
Cool. I didn't know about that. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, they're wild, and they kind of set up how research, like the scientific community, works today. They figured it out, and one thing
so
they figured out
suck and
is
they're
don't
stupid.
do vivisections. It's fucked up.
That's really cool.
It's weird how occult Newton is.
Yeah, he's an alchemist. He didn't publish calculus for years and years and years because he was more interested in alchemy.
Cool.
All the way through to his death, as far as I understand, is that he was never stopped believing in occult stuff. It just got washed out of the education we receive about him.
Yeah, definitely. He thought himself a perfect being. He had one sin once where he had a crush on a boy in school, and he drew this beautiful picture of the boy, and then he crossed it out. And from that point on, he thought that he was without sin.
Wow.
He sounds like a nerd.
Yeah, he's
Definitely.
Isaac Newton was a nerd. I think we can safely say that.
And he got bullied by William Blake.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Well, because he was a fucking prick.
Yeah.
Sounds like a prick, actually. Could it also be said that the black mechanics might partially be inspired by the movie Hackers?
No.
Inspired by hackers?
Inspired by
Partially, at least.
this book would have come out probably before, or it was probably written
checking
before
that.
Hackers came out.
This book came out the year before Hackers.
Oh,
There you
okay. Well, he certainly would have been writing it before then, though. But maybe he co-wrote the movie Hackers. and
Maybe
it's
he's Matthew
uncredited.
Lillard.
What is
You
happening?
very well could be.
Jordan wants to talk about hackers.
I just wanted to present the possibility.
Didn't you say
Of
you were
hacking.
tired?
Yeah,
You're like at
but I
that.
had some caffeine. I had some caffeine though.
You're like sleepover tired. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay.
Wait, but so what else do we want to say about Inky?
I mean, everything that Incus touches turns to sex.
Talk more about that. I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, just the whole entire section here is suffused with sex, and then I feel like he's just always suspecting people of having sex motives as well. But there's a part in this whole letter to Fulmar business where he talks about the fat and worried-looking boy who answers his summons, which is like straight out of Baldander's house, right?
Oh,
Fat and worried looking.
Yeah, having like a little chubby, possibly sex slave. That's like totally Baldander's gig. Right?
Sure.
Wasn't Severian disgusted by a weird, fat, childlike creature in the Baldander's bed?
What did he call it?
a homunculus? Didn't he call that a
Yeah,
homunculus?
homunculus. Yeah.
No,
No,
Catamite.
no. Oh, the
Oh,
homunculus.
catamite.
Catamite.
A catamite.
Oh, which
yeah.
is why it's a sex slave.
But a homunculus is mentioned in another moment. That is true.
But also, when we talked about that section of Gusan, I think we all kind of agreed that Severian was like projecting
So is Wolfe?
that.
And so is Incus.
Yeah, I wonder
Oh
if
yeah. Sure.
does Wolfe want to lead us into doing that ourselves? Like he's kind of baiting a little trap and being like, I didn't say there was sex. You said there was sex.
I feel like Incus highlights Silk's apparent innocence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Incus is doing the same thing that Silk's doing, but where Silk is like, which god should I be worshipping right now? Incus is like, who's fucking who? With everything
interesting.
that happens, he's
Yeah.
like, okay, how can I figure out who's fucking who from this fact?
Well, Incus is definitely voyeuristic, I would say, and I feel like that's like an aspect of like the culture of the Iamentiano. He's like looking, right? He's spying. He's looking. He like gains satisfaction out of seeing, and
Which
that's
is an
kind
aspect of science.
Yeah, and there's something kind of perverse about it. So when I'm going back to that paragraph where he's describing like Bittersweet's technique, when the first time I read that, I actually thought they were describing like some sort of sex show. Like when I
I
first
think
read
that's
through
on
it, right?
purpose.
Yeah, like it seems like there's something like, like something seamy going on, and there is something seamy. He's like watching them take off the face and the head of the chem. But even though it's like it's supposedly it's part of this, what do they call it? The circle, and they're probably a scientific society. But there's also there's an aspect to individuals in those kind of situations where they actually want to see this kind of stuff, and it's voyeuristic.
Yeah,
in a
you've been
way.
more than merely anxious to
Yeah.
witness at firsthand an actual demonstration.
Right.
He's horny for this.
Right. What's more than anxious?
He's horny for it. That's it.
And is this maybe this is like I really like this thing that we got set up here with Silk and Incus, and like Incus is the wrong path. He's like the Silk energy gone entirely down the wrong path. And I wonder if this isn't like scientists and the search for knowledge like completely falling into matter. Like they've lost like any connection to value other than like poking stuff and finding out secrets about it. And that
I mean, that was certainly the argument of the people who were demonizing the church folk, the Cromwellites, the Protestants who were demonizing the Royal College at the time.
Well, it seemed like there's something to it.
Well, yeah, like science's pursuit of objectivity is also a pursuit of inhumanity. The more objective science is, the more inhumane it is, because humans are subjective.
I was thinking about this the other day in like a different way, though. But that's going to take us somewhere else, so I'm not even going to mention it.
Far out.
Sometimes somewhere else is where we go.
Yeah, but
it's been known to happen.
yeah,
But I don't know. I guess I think this is really important to Wolfe. This, like, as a scientist man in a scientist, like, circle of people, and someone who's, like, really interested, like, you know, when we get to the Talus section, like, Wolfe's appreciation of science is boundless, but I guess it does seem to be making a pretty, like, basic kind of symbol here with the circle of being like people who are just totally, completely uprooted from like what the purpose of the work would be, and it's just finding secrets of its own turns into this kind of like prurient, almost lecherous pursuit.
Which honestly sounds like the divide between the applied scientist and the theoretical scientist. This is the applied scientist critique of the theoretical scientist.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody here has watched, what is it, Particle Dan? The Netflix documentary about the scientists who work at the Large Hadron Collider. And the whole thing is just the applied scientists being like, theoretical scientists are fucking idiots and they suck. And the theoretical scientists saying, applied scientists aren't even fucking scientists and they suck.
Huh.
And they're just like absolute dickholes to each other, and
That's
kind of
so
even
stupid.
sabotaging each other's experiments because they're like, that experiment's not worth anything. I'm theoretical, I'm discovering new information. I'm applied, their experiment's not worth anything. I'm actually doing something. They're
That's so
just
funny.
jerking off with math.
Whatever's going on over there is creepy.
What?
Oh, at the Hadron?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Dan, my volume is like all the way up, but I still can't hear you that well.
Yeah, can you be louder, Jen?
Yeah, something's happening with your
I don't
microphone.
know how to be louder. I mean, I'm sitting right next to my computer.
Did you go into your Zoom
When you got
preferences
closer like that, it was good.
and turn up your mic in your Zoom preferences?
Oh, I don't know how to do that, but I will try to figure that out.
Settings, preferences, something like that. There should be like a little panel or window or something that has sliders for volume.
There's
of
a little
the
there's a little arrow next to the microphone button.
mic. Ooh.
And then you go, if you click that, you can get to audio settings.
What do you want, Airbud?
I'm in that, but
You got Mac or PC?
The return of the
Linux,
man.
baby. I don't see anything that's like the level.
It's your speaker output level volume. Or sorry, it'll be your microphone input level.
Microphone
There's
input.
a slider.
There isn't like there isn't an option for that.
Oh. Well, I don't know what the deal is then. I can hear you okay when you're this close.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is very uncomfortable.
Wait,
Hang on,
I see it. Jen, do you see the mute
Yes.
button in the bottom left?
Yeah.
And then if you press the little arrow in the top right of that little box, do you see audio settings on the bottom?
Yeah, I'm saying I have audio. If I pull up audio settings, there's no like levels in that.
It doesn't say microphone there under on the audio tab.
No.
Okay, all right.
You can say there's like a test thing. You can test the audio, but
If there's not a slider with that, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, on
There's
normal
no
people
slider.
Zoom, underneath test it says input level, and there's a little meter that gets like green when you talk, and then underneath that there's a slider that says
you know
input
what
volume.
you know what I can try. You know what I can try. I can try. Hang on. I'm gonna try. Hang on. I'm gonna try something.
This has been tech support with Wolfpack.
She hadron collided.
She had her collided.
At this
The-
point, Jen removed the cartridge and blew in it.
The black mechanics also are an example of this night side thing we were talking about, and that is like a part of the, the title of the first book. Remember we were talking about how there's like a regular silk and then like a night side silk?
Night side?
This is like the same thing, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah, this is all the way night. This is night
Yeah.
side after dark.
Pretty much as night
Blackest
as you
night.
can get. Can't get any more night than that.
Jordan, you keep phasing in and out of picture.
Because I was trying to put up the brightness of my screen.
Nice.
I think. And I keep doing weird shit.
Wait, let's sound check Jen Kirby.
Wait a second. Oh, okay. I found it. Hang on. I think I found it.
Yeah, crank it up. All
Crank
the
it
way.
up. Make it big.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
Okay. I found it. I had to go into like the more complex settings, but also what I did when I left is I earlier I wasn't signed in. I was
Riveting.
just like on as a guest or whatever, you know.
Oh, so it didn't give you as many.
So I don't. Maybe those settings aren't available unless you're signed in.
They don't trust guests with sliders, huh?
You needed
Yeah.
a higher level ID badge.
Not.
But it wasn't in that section. I had to go into the like bigger settings section still.
Okay, I have a question about the letter to Fulmar that is probably unanswerable, but it seems so conspicuous. Okay, he talks about the his characteristic spiky M had been replaced by a new character, remarkably like a double E upside down. Good.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
So he's writing a secret letter. He's disguising his handwriting.
Yes.
So he's like writing with his left hand or whatever it is that he's doing. And it's making it so that his letters don't look the same.
Well,
He's holding
he's trying to
his
make it
pen.
look like an inverted M, right? Or not inverted, but like rotated.
He's just making it bubbly instead of pointy, so that it doesn't look immediately like his handwriting.
Yeah.
Surely there's something to this little description, like the particular thing. There has to
There's
be.
not.
No, it's like the sentence where, like the S and the T are the snake and the sword. It's too much like that sentence. Something is here.
So read the thing again.
His characteristic spiky M had been replaced by a new character remarkably like a double E upside down. Good. Even if
What's
this,
a double E?
I mean, I'm guessing he means
that's. I think
like
it's
two
kind of
loops?
loopy.
two
Like,
loops.
yeah, I think it's loopy.
I mean, maybe the meaning, the thing here, that the takeaway is like instead of sharp, it's round. Like maybe that's the whole reason he's phrased it like this. Like the edges are off, or it's gone, I don't know, curvy or something like that. But I refuse to believe that this like very bizarre explanation of how he's changing, in specific explanation of how he's changing his handwriting is just like, I don't know, like thrown in arbitrarily. It's too specific.
Well, just because it's simply explaining what's happening physically doesn't make it arbitrary. It doesn't have to mean something much more to not be arbitrary. It's not arbitrary because he's like showing us that he's. So like the first thing that he says is he picks up the pen and he mentions that he holds it incorrectly. Like he's just trying to show us all the steps he's going through to disguise. Oh, no, that's not even the first thing that he does. The first thing that he does is he writes a really plain letter and then he destroys it. And so they're just he's showing all the steps that Incus is going through to disguise how the message. And in the end, he's like, I can't even make a disguised message, I just have to go there.
Perhaps the pointy M becoming round is nothing more than Incus obscuring the point.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll buy that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because that's what he...
Yeah, that's good. Okay. I
then
accept.
before we move forward, I just want to like go back real quick to the bittersweet technique thing going on. So they're trying to learn something specific from looking at the chems, right? And when he says download there, do you see that in that paragraph where he asks, like, was it possible for anyone to download? Or was the whole thing perhaps simpler? Is he just talking about putting his consciousness into a chem?
I think that they're trying to figure out how to do what the gods do and what Mold Girl does. And this is the first time I ever caught that.
Mucor.
Yeah.
Mold
Mucor's
girl?
a kind of mold. Mucor's a kind of a mold.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Isn't that the thing about her name, is that it's like a plant name, but it's also a mucus name. She's everything everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
Johan said something neat. He's making one thing something else and turning it upside down to make it into the original thing again.
Right.
I like that.
Just like they do at Area 51.
Yeah, that's a little bit of what I was trying to get at when I was describing that. But I think Johan, yeah, you actually said it pretty well.
Yeah.
Nightside.
You change a thing and you turn it upside down, and it's the first thing again.
Well, but anyway,
Which is a
going back-
geometrical property.
I just wasn't like. So do you think they're trying to program others or put themselves into mainframe kind of a thing, or to just simply put their consciousness inside of chems?
I think
You
they
know,
want to
and
know
like-
everything, and they'll do any experiment that will lead them to knowing more. But I don't think there's
Right.
I don't think they have a mission beyond just like knowing everything.
Yeah, I think they're theoretical. They're not applied. So
Yeah,
it's
but
not
it
they're
seems-
like, we
it
want to
seems
do
like
this
they're-
specific thing. They just want to find out what they can do.
Yeah, it just seems like right there he's actually has like a specific question, right? Like
Yeah.
that, like it's just like unclear what download means exactly.
But that doesn't mean
think it
he
means exactly what you
necessarily
think.
has like a specific end in mind for that. A purpose.
Yeah, I mean it seems like he
necessarily.
means it seems like one question to me, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's just what they're talking about tonight, or whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah, that's what the faceplate
If that was
sex
their
show.
only purpose, they would have surpassed it. I know. They're definitely just like tooling around,
they're getting
Again,
progressive.
much like the
in my opinion.
Royal College, the scientific method and all that wasn't really developed at that point. So they were just doing things like, I'm going to poke different things into this rock and see what happens.
Wait, but can
Oh
we
shit,
talk
it makes
about,
electricity.
Can we talk about the fact that the counselors have already done this and what that means?
Mm-hmm.
Because like, do the black mechanics know about the counselors? I can't remember.
This circle might not, but that some black mechanic does, because what they've done is black mechanics.
Mhm.
I could see the counselors have an inside mole in the circle. They have like a mole everywhere, or they can buy information off of anybody.
Definitely.
And so while the black mechanics are kind of like jerk-offs, like just doing these weird like spooky shows and like impressing each other, like the counselors are the one who take what's really important out of that and then use it to gain things.
I think that Incus is...
just because...
Go ahead.
Just because there's a circle doesn't mean there's aren't other guys.
Exactly.
Doing stuff like this.
Incus's circle is jerk-offs. I think that the Ayuntamiento has I'm sorry if I said that wrong, has a better circle someplace.
Or, I mean, like...
One might call them a perfect circle.
It's probably like... The circles are probably connected in some way also. And it is probably...
Like the rings of hell!
You know, like the thing where they, it's like blood... they kind of like allow Blood to do whatever his operation is because they get a certain something from that. It's like there's all kinds of shit like that going on. They have arrangements with everybody. So it's like, okay, you just, kind of let these guys do their thing, and if they come up with something, they'll let us know,
Or it's like the way that the military works with universities, where they'll pay a bunch of money to like let you do whatever you want with your experiments, and then if any of it becomes of any use to the military, they're like, we own part of this. We're going to take this little useful thing. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll be over here with our guys, making it matter.
The predecessor,
absolutely.
The predecessor to the Royal College, was the Invisible College, and it was an organization across all of Europe that it was still illegal to be a scientist, so they couldn't let anybody know they were sciencing. So their only way of communication was in the notes of margins of books that they would mail around to each other. So like there's a whole school of thought that only exists in the marginalia of books from the late 1400s, early 1500s.
Cool.
So I think that like the various circles communicate that like they never meet, but they just can find each other in signs and portents,
Have you guys ever read that short story? I think it's really famous, where it's about a woman whose husband is part of like a group of scientists that are working on a new A-bomb that's going to like change the world. And by the end of the story, you find out that she's poisoning her husband's coffee and he's going to die, and that in fact like every wife of the people in this group is maybe doing this. Do you guys know the story? I want to say it's maybe
Lysistrata.
Oh, dude. Sorry.
I don't think so.
Oh, for some reason I thought that this was a really famous story.
Yeah.
It still could be.
Yeah. It might be Bradbury, maybe not. Maybe it's something after Bradbury. But I think about it.
Bradbury would do something like that.
Yeah. I think about it a lot whenever I walk by those signs that are like, in this house we believe science is real. I always end up getting into this imaginary discussion in my head where I'm like, if science is so great, how come they've never once stopped the government from killing people with their inventions? When are they ever going to do that if they're so smart, huh? Figure out how to invent something deadly and then make it unusable. Come on, smart guys.
Those signs are obnoxious.
Science has tried to do that sometimes. They just have failed. I mean, in what's his name? God damn it, Oliver Stone's Secret History of America documentary show on the Netflix. He talks about this dude that was almost going to be elected president after Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and he's the man who, working for the government, being a scientist working for the government, solved the Dust Bowl and showed everybody you have to do crop rotation or else the land blows away. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of science trying to stop the government from killing everybody. But then the government was like, we can't have this guy. We need Truman. Truman will drop the bomb. So they injected Truman in, and Truman sucked. And he made Majestic 12 to research UFOs. And that sucks.
I did watch that. There's a mushroom documentary on Netflix, and they talk about Dennis Leary and all the psychedelic experiments that were going on in the 60s.
Tim Leary. Right? Dennis Leary's the comedian.
Oh, Timothy Leary. Sorry, I'm an asshole. But but yeah, Timothy Leary's, and there was a ton of money going into these experiments throughout the '60s, and like the government actually went and like purposely like shut them all down, and that's where kind of like the war on drugs kind of ideology began there, and like shutting down the work. But it was actually like really well funded, and they were making strides that now you see a little bit of pockets of that coming back.
At Johns
there were
Hopkins.
attempts. Yeah, exactly, yeah. But there were attempts by scientists to kind of. I don't
Now
know,
those bad guys were the
I'll take it.
Rockefellers, right? The Rockefellers were the ones who nutsed all that up, I believe.
who shut it down?
Yeah, the Rockefeller drug laws, I think, are the ones that ended up.
It was
ruining
definitely
all
a
the LSD
coordinated
experiment.
effort.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
funny because
I mean,
wasn't
the
it
pharmaceutical
Hearst
industry was really. Sorry, Ryan?
it was
Cut out.
Randolph Hearst was the one who gave us weed being evil. But these, it's monopolists that have caused all the like demonization of drugs, of natural drugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Patrick Barron, whenever you think about Patrick Barron, one time gave an interesting lecture at the lecture series about herbs and herbalism and why the pharmaceutical company needs America to think that there's nothing in herbalism, and it's because you can't patent a plant. Once you extract the chemical essence, you can patent that chemical thing that you've made, but you can't patent this leaf. So they can't let unprocessed drugs be legal
Right.
because they need to approve it and bureaucratize it and
Well, that
tax
and
it.
but it's not even about it being legal or not. It's because it is legal. It's about it. It's about like questioning the efficacy so that people don't like take that into their own hands, like because the whole thing about it's like a greater thing about the health or whatever you would call it, the health system of our country. It's like the whole point of it is that you can't have any personal
Agency.
You can't have any personal agency over your own body and your own health, and it all has to be managed by someone outside of you who is like infinitely smarter than you, so he understands all the things you can't understand about your own body. I mean, that's like the
Certainly,
whole.
we can't-
It's a part of the.
Certainly, it seems like a bad idea to let people know that the drug that they need is something they can just grow in their backyard, like a fucking tomato.
Right.
Right.
And the argument in this film was that psilocybin's really good for mental health, and in particular for people going through either who have been through trauma or who have are experiencing depression, according to their studies. And it can be a little bit flowery in these kind of pseudoscientific movies, but that like there's hard evidence that like having a psychedelic experience is like very very effective for improving mental health. But that the problem with that from a sales perspective is that then that individual is not purchasing mental health drugs like Prozac for years and years. And those drugs, I'm sure some of you have been on them or similar drugs. I have, like, from time to time, and it is good like if you're in a hard spot, but it doesn't really cure or address the underlying issue in my opinion, in my experience.
I mean, that's what the Hopkins people. A lot of what the Hopkins
Right.
people are working on.
It's interesting because the underlying thing that needs to be addressed for a lot of people now, I think, is an issue of chemistry, where there's people that really believe and I think there's a lot of them, that really believe that the issue behind sadness is that your body is making a mistake with its chemicals, and that you're defective, and so that the pill, I think, in the mind of the materialist, it does address the underlying cause because it's just a machine that's malfunctioning. Then that's why there would be sadness, because
completely isolated from whatever's happening in society.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And
You would, if things
that's a
were
control
normal,
issue.
you'd be happy.
This
Happy is
is
normal.
this is a control issue. You know, like if it's a sociological problem, how the fuck do we deal with that? That's too complex of a thing. If it's a chemical problem, I adjust my chemical levels and it's fixed. I have control over this problem. And I do think that, I mean, you know, it's a fucking magic spell. Like, some people need to be able to have that ritual and know that. So, potentially, magically speaking, leading a person to believe all you need to do is take this drug and it'll fix your problem can sometimes be the spell that allows them to feel like they have the control to fix the problem.
Though I think that's also kind of psychiatrically speaking an irresponsible way of approaching medication. Typically the idea is that it's there as a supplement to therapy, which is the thing that actually helps you. And the chemical adjustment is just the thing that makes it easier to get to what you want to get to in therapy.
For sure.
Yeah,
But
I don't
to
think many
rebut what you're-
magicians are psychiatrists, but I'm sure a couple of them are.
The Jungian ones.
But to speak to Mark's point, so it doesn't have to be unethical because of how remarkable the placebo effect is. You can tell somebody, and I think that what we're talking about is placebo here, but you can tell somebody, I'm going to give you this placebo pill. It's a placebo. It's going to cure your whatever fucking ailment. And it works. Because the whole thing about the placebo effect is the more of a complicated process that the person doesn't understand but they know exists. Like there's gradations of placebo. An ointment placebo doesn't work as well as a pill placebo, which doesn't work as well as an injectable thing, because each thing is more invasive and inscrutable. So like that makes it that means that the placebo effect itself is more of an effective placebo than those other things. So if you just tell a person, here's a placebo, they know something weird happens and it works anyway. So the placebo effect works even more. So you can tell somebody exactly the whole plan of like, I'm going to tell you that you need this drug in order to do this because it will trick your mind into fixing the problem. And then it will still work even though they know we're just tricking your mind.
Have you tried that?
Have I tried that? I mean, a little bit, not in a clinical setting, but yeah, I'm always tricking my mind. I'm always doing things like the bus will come if I light a cigarette, or at least it will make it feel like it does, you know?
I think that my experience with antidepressants is really close to what Connor is describing, because that's basically what I did. Is I was like, nobody knows what this thing is. Like, no one knows how they work. And so, like, basically I was like, I have been earnestly working on my mental health for years, and there's been no improvement. But I think it's because I don't feel like I have the energy to break myself out of the depression. So I'm going to take a pill that's going to make me feel like I'm doing something that makes this happen. And just my mental health improved the moment I made the appointment to talk about getting the pill. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think what Connor is saying is true.
I guess I could do that sometimes if I'm getting like a headache and I know it's because I haven't eaten. When I start making the food, the headache goes away. Even if I like put something on that takes an hour to make.
Oh my god, I wish I could do that. I have tried to psych out my headaches so many times, and
Yeah.
every once in a while it works. Every once in a while I can be like, I'm gonna get this out of my body or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Headaches are so complicated.
Yeah, like you get them because you're like stressing out about something, right? So you're like, oh,
No.
or I do, but like,
No, not
oh,
me. No.
okay. But I do, or at least I think I do, like get them from like something that I'm either stressing about or thinking about. Like I'm a clencher, and so I like kind of clench inside, and then that kind of like causes like a little bit of a headache. But then I'm like, oh, there's no headache. There's nothing to worry about. I can just relax. I need to relax, relax. It's like, oh God, it's not working. I'm not
You
relaxed.
gotta brute force that headache.
Yeah, straining to relax is such a funny thing to do.
Oh, God. It's wild.
Living? It is.
It is.
Yep.
Totally.
But anyway, there is a school in psychology that, and it's small and it's not very well regarded, but I guess there's like one dude who's like kind of the leader in like the early 90s who proposed that like all of mental health was bullshit and that it was like more or less all, the serious study of mental health. It's the serious study of like of sociology, right? And how the individual is like fitting in with this society around them. That's like this one dude's thesis. I forget his name. I could share it afterwards, like if I do a little Google search. But
Tom Cruise.
and he
The
has
thing
like,
about that, though, is
what I'm
that
talking about.
well, no, not necessarily. There's several people who say that kind of thing, and some of them are saying it in a cool way, and some of them are Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise definitely thinks along those lines.
Well,
So
he's coming
Really?
from a certain school.
Well, I guess
it's along those lines, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're like,
I guess
when
Tom.
you listen to the Scientologists rail against Brooke Shields,
I see.
they're wrong, but they're really close to saying right things, and that's why it's so scary.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Tom Cruise puts a lot of emphasis on personal specific traumatic experiences, as much as sociological. Like, I guess the focus with Scientologists is a little less on where you fit in sociologically and on like that one time you felt like you didn't fit in and it ruined you. But
But
it's
the
still,
thing about anything that Tom Cruise says is that it's colored by the fact that he's always been touted as a messiah of Scientology. So his opinion on anything kind of doesn't matter. It's not like anybody else's opinion. None of us are messiahs.
I gotta say, I highly recommend that all of you go on YouTube at some point when you're already on YouTube and you look up Lucy Montgomery's impression of Tom Cruise. She did a sketch comedy show a couple years ago called Titty Bang Bang, and she did a Tom Cruise character that is so devastating. And she's a very tall woman, and so it's
oh dear, that's really funny.
It's absolutely incredible, and it makes me think she's perhaps among the top 5 best actors in the world living, and has not been recognized for this. And so I'd like her to be recognized. Cool. It's so amazing how good she does Tom Cruise, and it's just
What is
like
her name?
Lucy Montgomery. She's really funny, and the last thing I think she does voices on, I don't know, like that new Matt Groening show now, something like that. She is really incredible and been kind of like sidelined, it seemed like, for the past 10 years, inexplicably. She was a bit player on Tracy Ullman's shows, but like never really got to put on costumes, which is where she really just lights up.
Tim, I'm interested in reading about that guy that you mentioned.
Yeah.
If you remember to send us a link for his name.
I'll look into it. I think I saw I read a Jacobin article, if I'm pronouncing that right, the Socialist magazine, about that dude, and he's like, supported, largely by like socialists who look at mental health through the lens of like society. And the thing is, like, if you're like Tom Cruise might talk about like personal trauma, and Scientologists might too, and like the different ways of addressing that. But a lot of people would say that you might not heal 100% from personal trauma, but if you're surrounded by resources that support you and a community that supports you, right? Like if you have that surrounding, you can your mental health can improve, right? If you're like part of like a group, if you're doing fulfilling work, if your material needs are met, in general, you can improve your life and your mood. But that's very kind of rare right now in our world. It's not really the way that life is set up for a lot of people.
Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy is all fucked up.
Right.
You
Yeah,
can
so,
get
like,
an iPhone, but you can't get bread
Yeah.
in
That
poor
t-
communities.
once
They
they-
have a singular store. They don't have a grocery store.
Yeah.
They'll have to figure out how to put bread
Well,
on
it's like
the
imagine
cloud.
like
Then you can have as much bread as you can rent once it's on the cloud.
Well,
Cloud
now
bread.
we say that jokingly,
Rented
but
food.
with 3D printing, downloadable food is a reality. Manufacturing is a libertarian utopian idea. If we can get cold fusion in manufacturing, then like your house can make anything you need from more house to more you.
Replicator.
The
Replicator.
replicators.
Basically, like
Yeah.
we now have, in theory, replicators, and it's just making it energy efficient for mass production, and then the legalities of it, because that like blows. Like there are still parts of this country that are clinging to the idea that we're manufacturers and we make things in a factory, but if you just have a printer in your house that makes everything, there is no more manufacturing. When you need a car, you print it. Like, what the hell happens to our economy? It's a completely different beast. So I think the government will stand in the way of our replicators, but they are technically here now. Rejoice, Trekkies.
Didn't Musk recently announce that he's going to build a 5'8" robot that does work people won't want to do, and then
Yeah.
free us from labor?
I hate him so much.
He's
Yeah.
such a dickhead.
That's why.
Well,
I
he
brought it
announced
up.
it. He announced it with just a person dressed in a suit, like in like a morph suit, and they're like, "Oh yeah, eventually it'll just be a robot in there."
It was like when they had the bulletproof truck and he shot it with a shotgun and fucking windows all broke.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
Every
doing a bad
Aragorn
job.
has did a
Fate.
meme.
Everything
Where-
he does is fake.
It's so
Yeah.
bad.
I feel like Elon Musk watched the Francis Ford Coppola movie Tucker, a Man in His Dream, and took away all the wrong things from it.
I mean, Tucker had a very simple idea that worked, right? It was the circle. Oh no, Tucker's
No,
one about
it's
the car.
Hudsucker Proxy.
You're thinking of the Hudsucker
I
Proxy.
am thinking
Yeah.
of Hudsucker. That's a
No,
good one.
Tucker was just he designed a car that had headlights that turned when you turned. That was a big.
Well, but it
thing.
also had like seat belts. He came up with
Oh.
seat belts.
Oh, he came up
and
with
all
seat
the
belts.
car companies were like, "That's insane! It'll kill people." And now we
Right.
have to have seat. Like almost all of the safety innovations that Tucker came up with are now standard. Although at the time, Detroit argued that they were insane liabilities because they just wanted to end him. It's a
Right.
great movie and a great guy. I mean, horrible
Yeah.
man, but also cool.
It was a good movie.
Jeff Bridges, everybody.
Jeff Bridges.
Hey, did anybody know how Jeff Bridges is doing? Remember, he's ill.
Is he
Oh,
ill?
No.
Dude, everybody's ill right
he
now.
nonchalantly announced that he had cancer, but it was okay. like earlier this year, he's like, I got some
keep
cancer.
going.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. That's so cool.
Something like that. I don't know if
that's
that's exactly what he said, but it was of that spirit.
That's exactly how I would want to announce my cancer. So
Yeah.
I hope I reach that level of chill and coolness one day.
Jeff Bridges is an amazing man. I watched an amazing interview with Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, and Steve Buscemi, where they just talked about like when they showed The Big Lebowski to their kids the first time and what that felt like, and how like they hate watching movies they're in, except when Big Lebowski's on TV, they're going to stop and watch it because it's awesome.
Have you guys gone into the articles about the tarot in The Big Lebowski?
No, that sounds awesome.
There's like a really long article, at least one, I think there's multiple, but there's one that's like really juicy deep dive into why the tarot clearly structured the story of The Big Lebowski, and how there's like constant visual references to the Rider-Waite, and you get the whole major arcana by the end of the movie.
I think that's an amazing theory, and definitely not something the Coen brothers were doing.
I mean,
Well, I'm gonna have to watch it again with that in mind, and then read the article, and then I'll weigh in.
I mean,
I'm reading Aleister Crowley's book Moonchild right now, where he just makes fun of everybody he knows, and
That's so cool.
He's been really slamming Arthur Wyatt for a while now, and it's really, really funny. Like he keeps calling him a horrible pedant, and then like writing these really verbose monologues for him where he doesn't say anything at all. It's really funny. I never really realized that Aleister Crowley was funny. Anyways, I was just saying that because of the Rider-Waite deck.
he never would have gotten away with being an asshole if he wasn't funny. He would have either been forgotten or...
I just really haven't hung out with him being funny for a long time.
You've just been hanging out with him being horny, huh?
I've mostly hung out with him doing math lately.
Ew.
The Crowley book that I use the most is 777. It's just all math. But this is, I mean, like, he's still being a fucking prick, but it's really funny when you don't have to deal with it, you know?
Yeah, totally. Oh, it's like when Orson Welles, when you read him like dishing on other directors and like making fun of people, and it's like so cool and funny.
You get to watch it. I love watching Orson Welles on chat shows because he has no behavior.
Yep, he's so funny.
Groucho Marx is another one. He just slags everybody off.
So good.
Him on Bill Cosby's show, and he's just like, I'm pissed off that I'm on your show. I don't think you're any good.
And that's why Bill Cosby did this stuff with the Rohypnol, because he was traumatized.
Right. He couldn't earn Groucho Marx's approval.
He felt like less than a man.
Groucho Marx, an actual gangster.
Yeah, I read like a book of interviews with him that I found at my grandpa's house. Sorry. When I was like, in middle school, I found a book of interviews with him like late in his life, and he's like really dirty and stuff, and I read all of them, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, he used so many like racial slurs and stuff, and I was like, oh my god. I don't know why I read the whole thing, but like because it was really funny and good. I was riveted. It was great. It was a great book. That's all.
He's a singular person from another time.
Yeah. Speaking of great
and
books.
always upset. He Groucho Marx, I think, was nutso because he didn't live up to his own expectations ever.
Makes
He
sense.
was not the happy Marx brother.
He wasn't even the oldest one.
No.
Who's the oldest one?
What's the guy that's like not the harp one? The
Chico, right?
Chico, yeah.
Oh, Chico, the cute one?
There's also Zeppo
That's interesting. I think
And
maybe
Gummo.
Zeppo is the cute one.
and Gummo.
Oh,
Zeppo's the pretty one.
no. Chico's the romance one.
No, Harpo's the romance one.
What?
I mean, Harpo's always chasing women. Chico's just playing the...
Chico's kind of like a con man all through and through.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought... Okay, I thought that he was the one who was always romancing people.
I mean, Groucho's the one who's always grabbing people and just saying, can't you see I love you, I love you, I love you, and says I love you until they cut.
You know, I'm clearly not well versed in the Marx Brothers, so I'm just gonna sit down now.
Oh, I strongly recommend you watch a couple of their movies. Some of them are good and some of them are horrible.
It's
We
definitely
watched a couple of them somewhat recently.
it's definitely super weird how like a lot of the humor is still hits. For being as like
Because it's about the words. It's about wordplay.
Yeah, humor is timeless. People in like the graffiti of ancient cities were making the same jokes.
We're just so rooted in Aristophanean humor right now with like SNL, which is topical. It's about what is happening now. And Marx Brothers isn't that. It's just about, you know, let me use these words to dissolve things into silliness and absurdity.
I like when they're really random, like in Duck Soup, Harpo is always like lifting his leg and like putting it into people's.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
yes.
He just walks up to someone and lifts up his leg and like hands it to them for no reason. He's just like,
Well, he's trying. The origin of that Lotzi is he's trying to put his leg up on their leg, so when they put their wallet in their pants, they're putting their wallet in his pants. So it's a pickpocketing technique.
not a very good
ridiculous.
one.
How does that work? Does that work?
I don't. No, not usually. They usually see what he's doing and they say, "What the hell is going on?"
Never mind
Actually
me.
not working that well.
But that's not the point.
I was asking if that was a real technique. Was my question.
Oh no, I don't think so.
Okay, I was confused. Clearly,
It's not effective.
Oh dear.
All right.
How do we
how about
circle
that
back?
Gene Wolfe? Huh?
I don't know. Has anybody read Gene Wolfe humor? It's really weird. Free Live Free is a comedy.
Oh, I have it. I haven't read it.
I really like it.
I feel like I found it at a box of free books.
Yeah.
The Sorcerer's House is like generally jokier.
Castleview was also pretty jocular.
Sometimes you write a funny book.
Well, and Free Live Free is the first thing he wrote after Nuisance. I think he was just like, that was so heavy, I'm going to write jokes. Oh shit, these jokes are heavy.
Heavy jokes, man.
Yeah.
Silk is pretty funny in chapter 11 when he's talking with Crane, or at least the scene is kind of funny. Like Crane is like, you know, like, tell me who you work for. And Silk's like, all right, I'll tell you. I'm working for the Outsider, a minor god. And Crane's like listening the whole time, like, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a humor all throughout Long Sun that I think is I mean, I haven't read that much Chesterton, so I defer to Ryan on this one, but it feels to me like that the humor that comes with a British detective kind of feel. And I know that the Chesterton's priest detective, whatever the fuck that guy's name is,
Father Brown.
yeah, influences the Silk a lot.
Yeah.
Priest detectives are cool.
I wish I were a priest detective, but
Me
when
too.
I proposed to my mother when I was 17, maybe I should become a priest, she said, absolutely not. And I never questioned that.
She never said why, and you never asked.
I
She
believe
wanted
at the
to-
time she was
I mean,
thinking
a
about how
grandchild.
she wanted a grandchild.
Yeah. Okay.
And that didn't, that did, you know, like, let's be real.
You could still have one.
I don't think that that's going to happen.
Oh. I was going the other way with it. Like, if priest can have a grandchild, you know?
Well,
Italian ones used to do it up and down.
everybody, all of them used to do it up and down.
5 ways.
What? What are you talking about now?
Well, it used to not be. Everybody, all the priests used to have children all the fucking time. Popes would have
Oh.
big broods
oh.
of children.
Okay.
with multiple mistresses.
That's so
Because
cool.
it was the Dark Ages. They
Yeah.
didn't know how to write things down.
You just didn't get married. Do
Although
whatever you
sometimes
I
they
want.
think that's
did.
cool.
Well, yeah.
Let him fuck. I don't care.
Let them
Let the
fuck.
priests fuck.
I don't care. It's not. Doesn't hurt me. So.
I mean, you got the monks, you got the nuns. It's right there. It couldn't be easier to fix.
That is the case. That is kind of what happened, right?
I would say, why don't we only let them fuck once a year? Then they can still have their little special we don't have sex thing, but they can have sex on this 1 year. 1 day of the year.
Is it like
Or
a
maybe it's
huge
only 1 year.
is it like
1
a
year of their
orgy?
life they can have all the sex.
No,
What?
that's not going to work. 1 day a year might, but
Yeah.
not
Okay.
1 year of your life.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
A year of fucking.
Yeah.
We'll
Because
call it
then you're going to try to do as
Rumspringa,
much as
right?
possible.
Yeah, it
and
is
You're just going to have
Rumspringa.
like a nasty year. You're just going to be.
Give the priests Rumspringa. I think that's nice. Why not?
I still
We
might
should all
become a
get
priest.
Rumspringa.
What's
Everyone should get
Rumspringa?
one.
Oh, when the Amish coming of age thing, they get to go.
You
and
never
have a
saw
period.
that movie? There was
Yeah.
that documentary about it of like 15 years ago.
Yeah, all the Amish kids go to Philadelphia and buy a bunch of crack.
Sort of,
The,
yeah.
the only Amish documentary I've ever seen is the one where the guy gets really good at bowling and he goes out with his friends in the Farrelly Brothers movie.
Kingpin.
Yeah.
That's really,
Did you just call that a documentary?
Notable
Wasn't it?
documentary Kingpin.
wasn't
You're
it a
so
true
tickled
story?
by this. This is wonderful. That movie's always disturbed me for some reason. I think it's because there's a fake limb in it that I find upsetting.
Just that one or all fake
You don't
ones?
like the hand?
I think just that one. No, I don't like the hand. I'm an enemy of the hand.
Johan wanted to talk about the humor of New Sun, like when Severian belittles Dorcas for things in his narration that turn out to be true. Like when she observes that Talos is like a son to Baldanders and Severian roasts her in the narration.
Right.
I mean, yeah, he does that constant. It happens
And
constantly.
that's very British, in my opinion. That's like a British way of doing humor, is like having a pompous character who thinks they're right and is completely wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
True.
We all love to see that.
We do love to see
But the
that.
British do it so.
Stephen Fry talks about the difference between American humor and British humor, and he says that the British comedic hero is somebody who's desperately trying to fit in and get it right and just belong and failing constantly, and the American
Bean.
hero is someone who has no reason to fit in, get it right, or belong, and yet succeeds anyhow.
Yeah.
And
Like,
it's why Americans are insufferable.
yeah, we're taught from a young age that the most like annoying person in the room is the star, and it will work out for them in the end. Usually because everyone else like bends to their will.
You know, it completely explains our current situation. You know, climate change is killing us all. Fuck you. That's the whole thing right there. If I just misbehave funny enough, I'll get what I need.
Well, we believe in this house, we believe science is real, and they're going to figure out a way to reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to clap hard enough, I guess.
I've been working on a collection of phrases that would be on my version of that sign.
Uh huh.
Like, in this house, we believe cats are people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats are Republicans. I have a list that I've been working on.
They're fire so far.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful poem.
Yeah. I don't remember the other ones. Those are the top two.
I think mine would say, "In this house, belief is unnecessary because everything exists in a quantum foam."
Yeah. I will put that sign in my yard. I will happily put that sign in my yard.
Cool.
I
Yeah,
like
that
that
makes
one of them is like long and like takes up 2 lines, and like the text is like a little bit smaller. You know?
Yeah.
Connor, that should actually be like a nod branded bumper sticker or something.
I'm into that. I'll totally produce that.
There we go.
Amazing.
Oh boy. Well, thank you for this merchandising meeting.
Guys, the cats found this folded up packing blanket and they're like inside of it now.
Oh,
Oh.
show us, please. Can we see? Is it possible?
I don't know if it will be.
In return, I'll show you Quimby and what he's doing. But how do I do that?
Oh,
Okay.
a little Ouroboros cat. Quimby!
Too dark in this house.
Look at that cat all lounged out.
And Fairbow.
Regal.
You don't get to see Hairbow in real life.
No, never.
Oh.
Oh, Hairbow doesn't come out.
No.
She
But Quimby
stays in.
does.
Same deal
Yes.
with Garlic over here. Garlic is not a people person, but I'm looking at her right now.
We took our rabbits to the doctor's, and the doctor said one of our rabbits, my favorite rabbit, is too fat.
No.
Too fat.
As if feeding my favorite rabbit too many treats will make her fat.
No, never.
Whoa, what was going on?
Shadow
I'm sorry.
cat.
I'm sorry. I forget where I am.
So I guess I think we mentioned before the big end of chapter 10 of Silk seeing space. I think we
Right.
talked a little bit about that before, and I don't know if there's anything else really to
He
say about
runs
it.
from the sunrise.
It's majestic. It's a fingernail.
That made me laugh out loud when I read it this time. I
So
thought it was really cool.
I don't know. I feel like we can go to chapter 11 now.
Let's do it.
Unless
11.
anyone has a objection.
Yeah, that's what I read.
This one goes to 11.
Then this is where Chenille gets ridden
Yes.
by Scylla.
Yeah. I like Kypris more than Scylla.
I think everyone
Yeah,
does
definitely.
in the
Absolutely.
world.
Hot take. Kypris is better than Scylla.
And Scylla's not even Hera, right? Echidna is Hera, yeah?
I mean, this is a hard thing to have a one-to-one on.
Yeah, it's true.
Sure, Echidna is Hera because she's the queen of the pantheon, but neither of them are Hera. Like, Hera is about Hera is a goddess of marriage and therefore agreement, contract, treaties, that marriage in all of its idea. Echidna is just about monsters and Earth. She's more of an Earth mother. She's more of a Sibyl.
Yeah.
I guess Scylla's a little bit like a Scorpio.
Yeah, and
She's
also
water
kind of
god.
potentially a Poseidon figure almost. Less empire building, but like this tyrannical sea beast.
Kypris is
Well-
kind of like Julia Roberts. Like
Well,
a,
Scylla is a tyrannical sea beast, literally. Like, not literally, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this Poseidon and Scylla thing because Poseidon is just like relentlessly vindictive towards certain people, kind of for no reason. Or for
Yeah,
very
Poseidon
petty
is the
reasons.
big asshole of gods, I think. Poseidon is the god of empire. He's the horse god when empire is carried forth by the horse, and then once he reaches the ocean, he's like, I need boats. I'm the boat god now. And they go conquer lands across the ocean. He just is about taking other people's shit.
That's cool.
And he
I mean,
hounds
it's not at all.
he hounds Odysseus for years and years and years for it's a minor slight, right?
He is petty, real
Yeah.
petty.
Super petty. Other gods even like intervene, and Poseidon's like, I like fucking with this guy. It's like one of those grudges you don't even remember what started it. You're just in the habit of punishing a certain person.
There's a version of Demeter called Furious Demeter, which is a horse Demeter, because Poseidon was trying to have sex with Demeter, so she changed herself into a horse. But then he also changed himself into a horse and had sex with her anyway.
Why would she change herself into something that can be had sex with?
Yeah, she should have turned into a sponge or like
Or
a
a
jellyfish.
A pile of grain. Why?
Yeah.
That's like her thing.
And then
The
Poseidon
pile of
would rain
grain.
on it.
Maybe she was thinking she could run really fast.
I think she was.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then she
Well,
was
that
like,
produced a
I
child."
didn't think that maybe he would also be a horse.
But then Furious Demeter is my favorite Demeter.
Yeah. She's cool. Demeter, she's one of my favorite ones, I think.
My favorite
Digging
Demeter
a big
is
hole in my backyard is making me love her.
my favorite Demeter is laughing at a dirty joke after not laughing for years. Demeter.
Yeah.
I like that story a lot. Baobo, I think, is the old woman that makes her laugh.
Yeah. Sometimes this is a dirty joke, but sometimes she just flashes her.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which is
Oh.
that's a kind of a dirty joke. Here's my
Yeah.
boobie.
That's a very dirty joke.
Or cunt. In some versions, it's the vagina that's shown.
That's funnier, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah, if someone's at a feast and they're bringing the whole party down because they're so sad, and one of the servants is just like, whoop, that's very funny. That is a ridiculous way to respond to that situation.
Good for her.
That
Best
was-
joke.
my friend,
This is what I'm saying. That good jokes are eternal.
It's true.
particularly dirty and scatological ones. They last forever.
Absolutely best jokes, hands down.
This is what I say to people who are crying about things being too woke right now. And they're like, I can't even, I'm supposed to be clean, I can't make my jokes. It's like, if your joke was funny, people wouldn't care that it wasn't woke.
Tends to be true.
That
It's
Yeah.
definitely true. It's
maybe maybe I can think of some Jimmy Carr stuff that's amazingly funny that I know people would object to, but that is really really funny. But it's just
Yeah, but
so,
he's not saying it to us. He's saying it to England, who thinks it's funny.
it's true. I mean,
Who's Jimmy Carr?
Jimmy
He's
Carr,
a British comedian.
he's a
that cheats
workaholic.
on his taxes.
He did cheat on his taxes, but he also works like crazy. So it's like kind of I feel like it evens out.
I don't know, if he works like crazy and cheats on his taxes, that just means he's stealing more money from the people.
Right, but he's also contributing more than most people. Like, and it seems like kind of I feel like he's got a neurotic need to work. It's just more work than any human.
I
can do.
don't think that Jimmy Carr is okay. I think that he works in an unhealthy way.
Yeah,
And I
he's-
really think that one of those other asshole comedians should say something to him.
They gave
And
him,
actually, I think they probably have.
yeah,
I get the
I mean,
sense.
he was like, they gave him an American Netflix show, but I don't know if it's gonna come back or not. I think I forget
No.
what it was called. But he hosts a lot of game shows and
I thought
panel
that
shows in England.
they bought the show that he. I thought they bought the show that he did with Carrie. What's her name? Where they just like get couples to slag each other off.
Oh, he did. The one I was thinking of was called The Fix, and he would have Josie. You can't go on this table. They would have a couple celebrities, and it was kind of weirdly Bill Maher-ish, but with all comedy, a ridiculous comedy bent, where they'd take like things in the news and then talk about them, and then each comedian panelist would present like a facetious solution to this big problem. And they kind of, like they would sort of do very light politics, but mostly making fun of everything. But I think it was just I doubt it got renewed. I think it was too complicated for America and too many British people on it.
Yeah.
It had that whenever they have Big Fat Quiz and there's one American on it who's just left in the dust by everyone else's banter.
Yeah.
It had it wasn't quite as bad as Big Fat Quiz, but it was a little bit like that. Catherine Ryan was a co-host, and she and Jimmy Carr can just go so fast.
Yeah.
Guys, I have a question. What's up with the part where Mamelta is talking about, like, telepathy?
Give me a page.
470?
That's back at the end of 9, right? I mean, the end of 10, right?
No, it's in 10. This is
10,
the part
yeah.
where,
We were in
this is
11.
the part where it's right after where it says, "He who descends serves Pa's best."
Yeah.
But she's saying, like, I'm saying stuff to you, but you're not hearing me. I have to, like, use my face and my mouth and, like, make words out loud, or else you don't.
I think she's talking about when her. Okay. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I feel like it might be wrong. But when I was reading this, I think she was talking about when she was in cryosleep, her mind was plugged into a communal thing, and they didn't. They just shared over the server.
That was a concept that I had thought about, but it's like that's never alluded to in any other way.
Right.
As far
Yeah.
as I can tell in the rest of any of the text. So it's like, is it just that, like, we've all watched a lot of Star Trek or whatever, or like, is there anything in the text that, like, supports that? Or
It fits into the theme. It fits into what Incas was just talking about with, like, can we download personalities? You know, like it's just thematic.
Well, also, she doesn't really remember anything before. She has, like, the very tenuous grasp on anything that happened before getting on the ship. So I feel like it makes more sense, like you're saying, like, that this is a memory of after being put on the ship.
she remembered things from before she was put on the ship.
Not very well.
Bob remembers them.
Oh, so Johan said something. There were human instrumentality projected in the life support tanks. I'm not sure.
He's saying the same thing we're saying.
Yeah. They're talking inside of... This is while they're cryogened.
A similar thing happened in HBO Max's flagship show, Raised by Wolves.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was a pivotal plot point.
Is that a retelling of the
Big show.
founding of Rome in space?
Vaguely, there's a lot of... It's a big mixture of a whole bunch of crap.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it's good.
I had fun watching it at least once. I have not watched it a second time.
I had fun watching it once as well. It got real crazy.
It did. I want to watch it again, to watch the end again. But
Yeah.
the beginning doesn't need to be watched again.
It's satisfying to
It-
watch.
isn't
though.
the point-
It's very good looking.
Yeah. Yeah,
But isn't
it's
the
a
point-
Ridley Scott affair.
Yeah.
Oh,
What,
Johan,
Tim?
Like, if you're cryogenically frozen, you don't want to be conscious, though.
But it's not. You're not conscious of what's actually happening to your body. Like, I mean, this is something that it happens in, like, so much sci-fi. It's like a classic. It's like if you can't just be cryogenically frozen, your brain has to also be active in order to survive that long of a period of time. So you have, like, a program that's running. There's a really good Voyager episode where this is happening, and Michael McKean is like the program that's running in these people's brains, and he's like this evil jester. It's really good.
oh wow, that sounds
You
great.
guys should watch that episode. It's great.
Michael McKean as a villain is so incredible.
Oh my
In
god!
Star Trek.
I highly recommend watching
Yeah,
that episode, even if you just want to are people who are anti-Voyager.
Ha ha.
It's
I'm
a
more
great-
anti-Neelix than anti-Voyager. I think that Janeway's hot.
That's fine.
Gotta embrace the Neelix.
I don't have to embrace the Neelix.
He is
Dude.
terrible to look at and listen
I
to.
have to say, I hated him at first, and I watched all of the episodes of Voyager. And by the end, when Neelix left, I cried.
Yeah, I hope to never be at that point.
That's fine.
It's
But
like when you're
anyway.
watching DS9, and at first you're like, "Why is Quark getting so much screen time? This guy sucks." But then
When
eventually
I
you're like, "Oh, he's
first
great."
started DS9, I was like, "There's no way this show fucking sucks."
Yeah,
But I liked it by the end. It
Hey,
got better,
this-
and then there was a period in the middle where it was bad again. And I told Kenny on this one episode, I was like, "If the next one is bad again, I'm not. I have to take a break. Like, I can't do this. This is driving me insane." And then it like started to get better, and then it gets better.
this is a little bit off topic, but anybody fuck with Babylon 5?
I think
Do you watch it?
I keep thinking maybe I should give it a try.
I think
My buddy Adam is really, apparently the remastered version is very, very watchable. I've always been turned off by how it looks, but that was me trying to watch like the 90s iteration,
Yeah.
but where it's really hard to look at. Like
Well,
almost British sci-fi levels of bad.
But I hear so many good things about the writing and performance and
Yeah.
philosophy.
Apparently
Yeah,
everything
supposed to be
about
good.
it is great, and the DS9 is mostly ripped off from it, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that you just gotta embrace it as a joke, and the joke is this great thing looks horrible.
Yeah, I want to give it a try at some point.
But I haven't watched it. Because of the exact same. Every time I try to watch this first episode, I'm like, good God, I'm gonna watch something decent.
I think it also gets better after the first couple of episodes. Like I think
Right, another thing I've heard, but
So.
have not been able to get through. Sometimes television is hard, guys. Sometimes it's real hard to watch TV.
you got to put in the work.
Difficult?
Right.
yeah. When they were making it back in the day, they weren't thinking about it the same way now, where you're kind of constructing seasons of television in a novelistic form. They were just like a bunch of people, like crazy busy, like trying to put together something that might attract the attention of someone surfing channels. Like.
Well, Babylon 5 was actually kind of planned as a whole, like a complete story,
Yeah.
which is one of its virtues, apparently. But I think it was so much. Yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine trying to like write weekly TV on the fly like that.
Oh my God, I would love it.
I bet you would.
The only thing that's better is performing in it.
it's one of those things. It's like improv. Like you have to do
Yeah.
it to be good at it, and if you just do it, you like, if you have any charisma or brains, you'll get good at it.
I think that my dream job would have been if I could have been on a reoccurring cast member on the show Dark Shadows.
Ooh, yeah. I'm sad that didn't get to happen, Connor.
I know, right?
That
would've
would
been
be
cool.
that would be excellent.
That was filmed daily, but the man who starred in it was drunk, so he'd forget his lines and just start saying lines from several episodes back, and the writers would have to rewrite everything so that made sense. Like they'd have to watch it every day and be like, we got to rewrite tomorrow's script with all the changes that the main guy just does because he's too drunk right now.
That's so cool.
And that's why that set the pace of the show. It was really, really slow because they kept going back to 5 episodes ago because the guy was drunk and just was saying the wrong thing.
When way back in the old days, the Annex Theater did Eugene Ionesco's Rhinoceros.
I remember.
It's like a big absurdist classic, and I was playing the main character Berenger or however you pronounce it, and we didn't like rehearse long enough for me to memorize all the lines, and so I basically didn't know any lines for the last act. I had a ton of lines for the first 3 acts. Super long play. It's like 3 hours plus, and it's like me talking for most of it. Like it's so much. And so by the end, like we just didn't, and plus we didn't even rehearse the end that much. Like we rehearsed it like once or twice, like, and so like you would get to the end and then it would just become improv. I knew what happened. I read it, but I didn't know the specific lines. So it just devolved into just the vibe flavor of rhinoceros. But it was for half an hour I was just talking.
This jazz, man.
That's right. It's absurd.
Oh god.
I was in a play.
So
I was in a play in high school where there was 5 people on stage at one time, and none of us knew where in the script we were. And we all just kept saying lines that we knew were in the script until one person heard a line and they knew what the next line was. And we got back on track from that. And my mother was in the audience. This was the 3rd night of 3. She had seen the other 2 as well. She had no idea.
Yeah.
She didn't know that there was a huge section in the middle where we were all just saying anything. It was crazy. It's one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me.
We did in high school we did kind of a parlor comedy, if that, it was in a haunted house, but with a bunch of goofy one-liners and stuff. And the director, who was this really awesome old lady named Miss Knapp, who was our Latin teacher too, she dressed a guy up in a gorilla costume and then had him come out in the middle of one of the scenes, even though we weren't expecting it, and just start fucking with us. And so we're trying to say our lines and do these jokes. It's we're laughing, what's going on? He's trying to give me a banana and put it in my mouth.
That's great.
Tim,
teachers rule.
When we were in Macbeth at the Chicken Box, wasn't there a night where a dude walked in off the street and was totally unclear of what was going on and kind of got in the play for half a scene?
I was there for that, I think.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Who dealt with him? Was it Trevor? I think Trevor Wilhelms might have been the person who took it upon himself to work that guy into the scene for a second and then work him out of the building.
Yeah. It ended up working really well. I can't remember who it was.
I think it might have been Trevor. I remember being so impressed at how well it was. It was the ideal situation for a street person, just coming in and being I'm in it now.
Trevor would be good at that.
I'm going to give him
opening a door into a play and then becoming part of the play without. You're just walking down the street and you walk into a building and then you're in a play and you're just all right, now I'm doing this.
That's great. I'm so prepared.
Yeah, you too. You'd be great at it, Connor.
Thank you. I think you would too.
Oh shit. That reminds me of, there was an after pack moment where me and Ryan and Tim were all talking about improv and having an improv group.
Oh yeah, we should still definitely do that.
We should do that.
We're going to start an improv group?
That would be really fun, I think.
We're not going to think about doing shows. We're just going to do rehearsals.
Just for hanging out.
I mean, that's the right way to do improv. If you do a show of it, then you're doing something horrible to other people. If you're just doing improv amongst your friends, it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do shows too. Whenever I am way better at improv with an audience than without an audience.
That's a bridge we cross in at least a year, probably too.
Yeah,
there's also we have to consider that there's still an airborne infectious disease ravaging the nation.
Yeah, I think this is a longer term plan.
The world at large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
you can't beat them, join them. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Very
Also,
true.
we've been kind of given. I feel like we've been given the pretty clear message that there will be nothing more to happen as far as lockdowns or any kind of taking it seriously. We're done with that phase of the plague. We are into the
Hogan's whole PR thing for a year was I'm the leader of the coronavirus
like efforts, like Maryland is the greatest, and now he's basically just like, fuck it, like we're past that whole coronavirus thing. Like it's like not really.
I mean, that's been from I feel like the White House too. Their whole stance on it has been like, yeah, that was a Trump thing, and we have a better country now, so we don't have to talk about not doing what we always do because what we do is good again.
That's literally their talking points. Like Biden was like a direct, like I heard like something on NPR where he was given some soundbite. He was like, coronavirus was handled very poorly by the Trump administration.
Because he gave us
like,
money and sent people home, like the things you're supposed to do in a plague. So weird that we're going to end up